Recognize that your mental health is so important. If you don't, then I promise you'll be so distorted. Stiffened by your thoughts, that's a mental rigor mortis. I'm on a hard mission and it won't be aborted. Assorted memories will seem to be your remedy, but in your darkest hour, form into your enemies. Trust your gut, judge people off their energy. Cut them off quick and fast, they are limiting your room to grow.
You're listening to the Expect Effect podcast, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. Consider this an acknowledgement of feeling the opportunity to birth every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I'm your host, It's Just Nikia. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nikia. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Be sure you check out our website, theexpecteffectpod.com, where you can get plugged in with me, your host, certified life coach, and writer. So you can go ahead and sign up for some of our life coaching services, specifically vent sessions, though personalized plans can be built for those who make that request. We also have our Podcast Like a Pro service, so you can go ahead and get locked in on how to create a podcast or how to improve your current platform. You can get locked in on how to do remote recording, and I also offer voiceover services. So go check us out. That's theexpecteffectpod.com. And did I mention, if you want to be a guest, there's a tab for you too. Go ahead and fill out my Google form there present. It asks you a couple of questions. The form will come to me directly and allow me to take you into consideration as a guest. So please check out our website, whether you want to be a guest. If you're looking for a shoulder to lean on, I am not a certified counselor or a therapist. I'm not a licensed psychiatrist, but I am a certified life coach, and I'm here to help you in the doing stage of your life. So go on, get at me, visit the website. You can submit an inquiry if there's something you want to hear on the show. If you have a question, we have a contact form for that. Anything you can think of, including immediate mental health resources, you will find on this website. You're not going to find another podcast website like it. So go ahead and give us a look. That's the expecteffectpod.com. Man, look at you. I'm so proud of you for making it through the week, through last year, through the holiday season, through that first hump that is January as we quickly approach Black History Month. So really just shout out to you. I'm proud of you for progressing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for continually listening and really just being great. I really think you're amazing. If nobody's telling you that, I'm telling you, pat yourself on the back. It is okay. You're not doing as bad as you think you are. I promise you're doing even better than you're giving yourself credit for. And this too shall pass. Even if this too has been going on a long ass time, this too shall pass. And I promise it's going to be okay. Just keep going. Keep hanging in here with me and know that I've got your back even when nobody else does. All right. So this particular week, we did not air on Wednesday. This is a special Saturday release. We didn't air on Wednesday. I did want to air on Inauguration Day. A lot was going on. Shout out to Michelle Obama for just looking like a boss bitch. I just really want to give her praise where praise is due. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, also, Bernie Sanders is a forever move for me. I was really tempted to buy the sweatshirt, but didn't. And this week, I'm really excited to bring you the story that just made the end of these last 4 years seem worth, I don't know, every ounce of maybe missed joy that would have not been able to be experienced last year. We're not even really sure if I'm saying that correctly, but ultimately this particular story just brought me a particular amount of happiness and appreciation for life. It humbled me. It made me exceptionally grateful for the life that I lead and for the family that I am able to see and communicate with. It made me just really want to stop and pause and bring this story to you. So I originally heard Anthony talk about the story of Corvain Cooper while we were in a Clubhouse group. And while we were in that particular group, Anthony just really came straight forward out the gate and introduced the 40 Tons brand and advised of some of the upcoming things that they would be doing. And I said, I've got to get more on this story. And we actually were able to pull back layers that I didn't even expect to hear. So when you listen to part one of this interview, you're not just hearing about Corvain, you're hearing about relationships, you're hearing about triumph, you're hearing about pain, you're hearing about an unfair justice system, you're hearing about processes and procedures in day-to-day life, and you're hearing about it in a way that's really going to hopefully inspire you to donate one to Corvain's GoFundMe and maybe get out and do something useful in your own community, or re-examine or reassess how you may think of those who are incarcerated. So On the 28th of January, this is 2013, Corvain Cooper was in his home, and on this particular day, he was accompanying his eldest daughter, he's got 2 daughters, so he's a father, to her drill team competition. And while in his car, about to exit his driveway, so he's not even out of the driveway, federal agents appear. One of Corvain's childhood friends was under arrest, and that particular friend, if we can call him that, gave authorities 100 names in exchange for a reduced sentence. And Corvain's name was among the 100 names listed. Corvain dealt in cannabis as a younger man, but had been out of the game for quite some time. So I would say there were so many years that he was out of the game that he was a few months away from the statute of limitations. So that's how long he had actually not been involved in selling cannabis or involved in this particular industry, that he was actually only a few months shy of being away from the statute of limitations, where it couldn't have even have been something he was bothered about. So he refused the plea deal because he knew how close he was to the statute of limitations and fought the charge in court. And as a result of him opting to fight that charge, the system punished him, and he was found responsible for the entirety, so 40 tons of cannabis transported by the group under California's 3 strikes law. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, and since his sentencing, 3 strikes felonies have been retroactively reduced to misdemeanors, and if he went on trial today, like if you took it all back, he probably would not have received a life sentence, because we now understand, or at least lawmakers are starting to understand, the ramifications behind laws such as the 3 strikes law, and really just it rips families apart. If you think about it, or you're wanting a little more clarity, you're going to hear some on the interview. But just to break it down for you, I once read a story about a man who was sentenced to life in prison for stealing a loaf of bread. And that was the title headline, and I was deeply confused. So I had to read the article. It come to find out that this man had 2 previous charges that were related to theft. And as a result of this being his 3rd charge, even though in every instance he was stealing to feed his family, and we're not addressing the issue of poverty, we're not addressing the issue of wage gaps, we're not addressing the issue of impoverished communities, we're only addressing his actions. In each instance, he was stealing to feed his family, and on the 3rd, he was sentenced to life in prison. So that's a little bit on how the 3 strikes law works. So back to the story of Corvain Cooper, when he was sent to prison for the rest of his life for selling marijuana, y'all. Marijuana. The same drug that we laugh about Seth Rogen using, the same drug we laugh about Snoop using everywhere he goes, the same one if you watch Friday is the killer point in that movie. He was sentenced to life in prison for selling marijuana, the same drug that many states have legalized and allow. We won't get too specific there, but there are a number of people making money off of this particular industry that Corvain was sentenced to life in prison for. He was 34 years old at the time, a father of 2 young daughters, as I mentioned. They were 4 and 8. He was a fiance, as you all know, a son, obviously a friend, and a small business owner who had started selling clothing and footwear, again, not involved in the cannabis industry. Corvain's story is only one of thousands, and on January 20th, Corvain was granted presidential clemency after serving 8 long years in prison. Dozens of people are serving life sentences, while countless others are still in the system for nonviolent cannabis offenses. While January 20th proved to be a groundbreaking day for many in the industry and many of those who had been locked up for those offenses, there are still a number of prisoners who have been dealt an unjust hand. Their loss is felt in their families and their communities, and they're left to pick up the pieces of this person's life while managing their own trauma and loss. And although these prisoners aren't innocent, we've never said that, they must still pay their due debt to society. I believe firmly the punishment ought to fit the crime. No one should spend a lifetime in prison for a plant that that many consume, right, from profit legally. Many consume, and profit from legally. So you have many people that consume cannabis, they profit from it legally, and we're not saying people are innocent. The entire introduction of 40 tons in their core desire, this particular brand, nobody's doing it based on the fact that we're saying these people don't deserve to pay their debts to society. This is an active system of reciprocity. However, again, nobody should spend a lifetime in prison for a plant that many consume and profit from legally. So this is really just one of those things. Corvain's story is a really powerful one now that you're aware of the background of how he got in the situation he was in anyway. But the introduction of the 40 Tons brand and how it relates to the story is what you're about to hear next. So 40 Tons advocates for federal cannabis legalization in addition to restorative justice, reduced sentencing, and rehabilitation for nonviolent cannabis offenders. So they are a cannabis brand themselves, and a cannabis brand making all the difference, again, by advocating for federal cannabis legalization in addition to restorative justice, reduced sentencing, and rehabilitation for nonviolent cannabis offenders. The story you're about to hear is a powerful one. I want you to sit back. I was able to ask real, honest, and transparent questions. I look forward to part 2. I look forward to sharing part 2 with all of you. And again, go back and listen to our teaser. If you have not already, you will find a link to Corvain's GoFundMe there, and both show descriptions for the teaser and part 1 of this episode. We're also going to, again, I promise you, have this up on a blog post coming within the week. I want to just go ahead and make sure that I get this GoFundMe out and the story out everywhere I can. Corvain is very fortunate to be back home with his family, and I know he's taking in every moment with just, I've watched his Instagram and his social media post. It's evident that he's grateful to be home and that he's ready to get to work to make a difference with 40 Tons and continue the work that helped get him released. So in that, I really do look forward to speaking with him, but please help him out any way you can. You will find a link to that GoFundMe on our Instagram and Facebook page at It's Just Nakia, at the Expect Effect Podcast. We are going to be making sure that GoFundMe link is out on our blog post. I'm going to make sure that I have that up midweek this coming week, so we're going to make sure we get that done. And visit 40 Tons, 40 TONS on Instagram. Go ahead and get locked into 40tons.co. That's their website. And visit that GoFundMe, because literally if there's anything that you can give, just $1 helps. You have no idea how hard it can be to get back on your feet after a situation like this, especially when you look at, he was coming off originally not thinking he would ever be able to leave prison, and now he's back home with his family, again having the opportunity to be that father, that son, that friend, and that businessman. So sit back, sit tight. Shit, damn, y'all, it's hard. It has been hard. I am still tired. I don't know when I'm not going to be tired. I don't know when I'm going to be all the way organized. I don't know if I ever will be any of those things. But one thing I do know is that I'll be back here every week regardless, bringing you my absolute best, even if it's not that great. And I appreciate you guys for hanging in here with me and just rocking. Mental health and wellness, the journey, the battle, the struggle, it's all a motherfucker, but we making it. So sit tight. We're coming right back after this with the founders. I say founders. One is the operations director and one is the CEO, but they are a married couple, and I consider them the founders as the cohesive unit of 40 Tons. So sit back. We're going to hear from them in just a moment.
Hello, my name is L'Oreal Allegretti, and I am the CEO of 40 Tons brand.
Hi, my name is Anthony Allegretti, and I am the operations director of 40 Tons brand.
Oh my goodness. Thank you guys, first of all, so much for joining us here. I do want to say that this entire introduction began on Clubhouse. I was in a group listening to Anthony speak, and I was blown away, one, with everything that I was hearing, with his initiative, with his drive, and with the transparency of the situation like this. So I wanted to bring this bonus style episode to the Expect Effect because it was entirely too important and too powerful to ignore. Thank you guys so much for being here. They are a married couple, so thank you guys so much for actually coming on the show and joining us here today. If you would first detail the creation of 40 Tons. I was able to read through some information prior to you guys coming on: the promise, purpose, pillars, personality, benefits, your logo creation. All of this was very intriguing to me. So if you wouldn't mind just diving into that.
Yeah, no problem. First, we started 40 Tons years ago before we even knew we started 40 Tons. And that was Corvain and I were in the legacy market selling marijuana. We've always been a proponent of marijuana. We believe in the plant. We love the plant. And we sold the plant. And so years later, we got in trouble for the plant. And Corvain and I, we all got indicted on a 40 Tons conspiracy. Different people in this conspiracy had different roles. And long story short, because of the 3 strikes law, Corvain ended up getting a life sentence without the possibility of parole over this nonviolent cannabis offense. I was blessed. I had a lot going for me at the time. I was almost 6 years removed from the conspiracy. And so at the time that the indictment came down, I literally had not seen anyone, including Corvain, for almost 6 years. Unfortunately, I could only prove that I was out of the conspiracy 4 years and 7 months. And due to the statute of limitations, which is 5 years, is what ended up keeping me involved in the case. Had the case happened 6 months later, I could have fought it. I could have fought it 100% on statute of limitations, which is what we were trying to do. But as the case kept unfolding, I could only prove it 4 years and 7 months. So we get in trouble. We go to prison, and Corvain ends up getting a life sentence because he's fighting the case on the same thing of statute of limitations. And the 3 strikes law is what put him away. So that's how the 40 Tons brand started. It started not because we thought of, oh, hey, let's come up with a cannabis brand. No, we were in the legacy market and we got hit with a 40-ton conspiracy. So fast forward years later.
And if you don't mind, just real quick for listeners who may be unfamiliar with 40-ton conspiracy and how that could work, and for those who may be unfamiliar with 3 strikes laws, if you wouldn't mind just providing some elaboration there as to how that could happen to someone.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 things. One, the 40 Tons conspiracy. So the way that it works in a conspiracy is if you have anything to do with anything involved in the entire operation, you get charged with the entire conspiracy. So for arbitrary purposes, let's say there's a 1,000 pound conspiracy. And let's say that you only are responsible for selling 10 of those pounds legitimately. Like you sold 10 of those pounds, not 11, not 9, but 10. If you decide to fight it and you go to trial on it, you don't get charged with 10 pounds. You get charged with 1,000. It's a really unjust law, these conspiracy laws, because a lot of people aren't involved in the entire operation, but yet they get hit for the entire operation. So let's say your job was just depositing funds into a bank account so that you can get the funds back to California. You would get charged with the entire thing. So it's a really unjust charge, and that's how conspiracy works. And that's how they're able to convict people, because you don't need physical evidence to convict someone on a conspiracy. You just need circumstantial evidence and multiple people pointing the finger. And so that's how the conspiracy charge works. Now, the 3 strikes law that's basically if you have the same crime 3 times, you can get struck out. So specifically in this particular case, Corvain had 2 predicated felonies. One was he sold a half a pound of weed that he went to the state for. And then another one was he had in his possession codeine cough syrup without a prescription. So on the 3rd charge, which was this marijuana conspiracy, which is technically his 3rd drug charge, he now gets struck out. So that's why you hear the stories about people getting sentenced to life for stealing a piece of pizza. That's because they had 2 theft charges prior, and then the 3rd one makes it their 3rd charge of the same type of offense, and so now they get struck out. And so that's another really big unjust law. And so that's what happened with Corvain. So when this charge came down and he decided to fight it and go to trial, when he got convicted, he was punished at the maximum sentence. And so the judge couldn't even do anything. Even if the judge wanted to give him 10 years, 20 years, he couldn't, because the mandate reads on the 3 strikes law that he's forced to give him a life sentence.
Wow.
So it's a really draconian law.
I definitely wasn't aware of the mandating of the maximum sentence. I'd been familiar with the 3 strikes law, heard about it on the debate circuit in college and high school, but to know that there was no way around, that was legitimately going to be the only end, that is wild. And I'm honestly speechless. I think I'm going to be speechless anytime I hear a story like this, no matter how many times we go through it. It's going to constantly throw me for a loop. So I do appreciate you detailing that and just advising listeners who may not be as familiar with circumstances like these, if you wouldn't mind just continuing the creation of your brand there. So now you've essentially created 40 Tons, not with the idea of creating a cannabis brand, but this is some shit that I've actually been through. This is something that I've experienced, and I want to make a difference.
Yeah. And to add to our last segment on the 3 strikes laws, everyone always thinks that 3 strikes is just violence. But as you saw with Corvain, it had nothing to do with violence. It just has to do with 3 of the same type of felonies and what got him. So it's really unjust. And so what we're trying to do is bring awareness to that. And so fast forward years later, I come home, and I'll let my wife speak on this because she was the one that actually started 40 tons. But this was our way of basically getting back what the system took from us.
Right. Yeah. So just to backtrack just a tiny bit to take us back to when Anthony is involved in the indictment that includes Corvain and 98 other individuals with this conspiracy charge. It was me with 3 children sitting in a courtroom listening to this crazy amount of time that Anthony could be sentenced to. And with all of his accolades behind him, he got a lighter sentence. Now, and Corvain gets the life without the possibility of parole. So I had this aha moment, this moment of just sure chills that penetrated through my whole body, thinking I am a Black woman married to a white man, and he gets a much lighter sentence than my Black friend does, right?
I imagine, if I could for a second, the dynamics for you as you're in that courtroom, you look at the potential of, at least for this period of time, so to speak, I could be a single mother, in air quotations, in terms of responsibilities. This is very frightening for me to have to face. And then also to the dynamic of your point, now your Black friend is looking at the maximum sentence. And while things have smoothed themselves out to some degree, there's still that face of it. What were your exact emotions that you can recall in that moment?
Oh my goodness. My emotions was, I was terrified. I was much younger. Yes, I had some work experience and some schooling behind me, but Anthony basically was the head of the household and took care of everything financially. So it meant that I'd be what I considered a single married woman, person, parent. It was a extremely heavy burden for me. I felt desperate at times. I felt it was very lonely and dark at times, but I knew I had to stuff it all down to perform as a mother, a father to the children. They needed to see me never to cry. Oh, but I cried in the shower. But I could not let them see me weak. They deserved to have someone that was going to lead them, and I needed to step up. And I did, through the grace of God and other supportive family members that I had at the time.
Man, that is powerful. And definitely please continue with the rest of the story, but I just wanted to take a moment to dive into what that may feel like. I think about now just even taking collect calls from my brother over the phone. He was recently relocated, and I had to hunt him down because they move so sloppy with these things sometimes. Yes. And there are just so many dynamics of like emotions you really just don't know how to speak on when you have to deal with someone being gone in that capacity, and to you having to champion through. And I don't even have a dog to worry about right now, so I don't know how you did it, but I give you all, I don't know how y'all do it now, but I give all the praise there to be such a strong couple in faith and in communication, in collaboration, and just in effort. So yeah, no, definitely continue on with your role in the creation of 40 Tons as you had this epiphany moment. But yeah, just wanted to take a moment and give you some praise there.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It made me a much stronger person today, having gone through that experience. And here comes the real birth of 40 Tons, right? And so we consider ourselves serving the cannabis needs via edibles and pre-rolls and premium flowers. And we've partnered with local growers here in Los Angeles, and we are just craving social injustice reform for prisoners and that are serving a life sentence for cannabis related charges.
And to add to that, the reason why we started 40 Tons, or at least our mission of 40 Tons, was we took a look at the marketplace and we saw that there's premium flower, there's medium grade flower, there's medium premium of all the different types of cannabis products. And most of the people that purchase on those products purchase because of that. High THC levels, high CBD levels, this flavor, that flavor, things of that nature. And so what we didn't want to do was be just like everybody else. When you walk into a dispensary right now, it feels like you're in the Apple store. It's very high tech. It's very clean, beautiful branding, beautiful imagery.
I was actually, I'll say, blown away the first time I walked into one. And obviously I'm a Texas resident, so you travel and you go, and then I was like, oh, wow.
They're awesome. They're awesome. These dispensaries are just, they're incredible. But the one thing that we saw that was missing was the story. And we want people to purchase our products, not just because they're great made. We want people to purchase our products because of what will happen once they purchase this product. We want people to feel like they are involved with the mission. We want people to feel like they have a purpose. We want people to feel that when they actually make a contribution to 40 tons, it's actually doing something. So we partnered with great organizations, we partnered with great businesses like Ocean Grown Extracts, who's the fully integrated cannabis company that we are partnered with. And they believe in high quality, high standards. They're one of the largest oil manufacturers in the state of California. They have a ton of really good, high quality products. So in addition to those high quality products, we wanted to have a story so that people felt that when they were purchasing from us, it wasn't just because of THC. It wasn't just because of cannabis. It was because the money that they spent would actually go towards helping the prisoners.
An actual prisoner, correct.
Exactly,
That
an
is
actual
powerful.
prisoner reform.
Because
That's
huge.
huge.
I knew that even though you have your loved one that's in prison, the family subsequently is also in prison, whether, like you mentioned, accepting these collect calls from your brothers and other family members. You don't know what time it's going to be. You can't prepare for it. So maybe you're not at your lunch break at work. So now you've got to try to take a quick break to get that phone call in, right? Like so you're in that prison for that 15, 20-minute phone call. Whether you prepare yourself to go and actually make a person visit, that's usually an all-day ordeal.
My goodness, yeah. Even when I think about the current location now, it would probably take me 4.5 hours to get there, and then you set things up. So absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Corvain's 2 days away from where his family lives. 3 days maybe. It's like a 5-hour flight. So if you had to drive, it's Louisiana to California is no joke. In fact, his son's mother drove all the way out there, flew all the way out there only to be turned away because the prison was on lockdown.
And they have
things like that. And so all of that passion and all that emotion is behind our brand. And so what we thought was that when we were going to make this brand, we need to be able to compete with all of the great branding that's out there. But what else could we do that would make us stand out? And that was really telling the story of Corvain Cooper, because Corvain's the soul of this brand, as well as representing the prisoners and the things that we're going to do for them. And so we could talk about this later in the podcast, but like of what we're physically doing, but why we're doing it was really important to us. And so when you think of 40 tons, what do you think of? Heaviness, right? Weight.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Right? 40 tons is a lot of weight, no matter what it is. 40 tons of feathers, 40 tons of rocks, 40 tons of weed, doesn't matter. 40 tons is a significant amount of weight, which is a significant amount of heaviness. What do you think of when you think of heaviness? You think of the life sentence that somebody is serving over cannabis. That's heavy, right? That's heavy on someone's soul, right? That's heavy on someone. But usually everyone thinks of the prisoner, which is important, right? Because the prisoner is the one that has to do the time, and that's the heaviness. But where we forget to pay homage to is the wives, the mothers, the daughters, the girlfriends, who have to pick up the pieces to the puzzle and bear that heavy weight of a burden when their loved one is in prison. And so we wanted to have our brand represent that. And so our brand represents the wives and the mothers and the daughters and the women that get left behind, and the men get left behind too, like the sons and the brothers and the uncles and stuff. But it's predominantly usually the mother that ends up having to, or the wife that ends up having to pick up those pieces. And so we wanted to fuse that into our brand and our messaging and let them know that we represent them as well. And that's pretty much the why behind 40 tons. If you look at our logo, it says 40 tons with chains.
I love the logo, by the way. It's just exceptionally done.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we can explain that. If you look at first of all, number one, when the branding company, and first of all, I got to give a big shout out to Avo Brands. If it wasn't for Avo Brands, we wouldn't be where we are today. Naftali, the creative director, Justin, and the rest of their team did a really great job at helping us. And we went back and forth a lot. Also, too, I got to give a shout out to Aaron Silverman, the president of Media Gel, because he was involved in the process as well of the branding. But anyway, when we were going back and forth with the branding team on how to really effectively create this brand, we wanted to be different. We wanted to break the rules of symmetry. So if you look at our logo, you'll see that it's not symmetrical. It's not like your typical branding. You see the Y at the end. Just imagine putting a bunch of weight in the back of your car, how it dips, right? So that's where the Y, how it dips like that. If you look at the chains, what does it say? CO, Corvain Cooper. That's what the C represents, is Corvain Cooper, right? But the C looking backwards is his life sentence. And the C looking forward is his future and what we have to look forward to. So the C looking backwards is like all of the negativity, all of the prison terms, all of the injustices. And the C looking forward is all the positivity. But C also represents cannabis. And the C looking backwards is the cannabis industry going through this prohibitionary period. And the C looking forward is ultimately complete legalization. So when you look at the chains, you think of being in bondage, being locked down. We decided to keep the top and the bottom open. So that signifies we're still not there yet, but we're getting closer. If those two C's were closed and it was just one full chain of 4 links, that would insinuate that we were completely locked up. Nothing's legal. Everything is still all bad. But the open chains show that we're close. And so eventually we want to break those chains and have true freedom with this plant. In addition to that, anytime that you can put numbers into a logo, so like 40, FORTY, we did 40 RTY. That's a really cool way to graphically show your logo. So we were thinking there. And then there's chains in our logo, which is an ode to the Last Prisoner Project. Last Prisoner Project has been an amazing organization that's been on the front lines fighting to help get prisoners free that have cannabis charges. And so we wanted to show respect to them, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't know all of the people that we know that have helped with this brand. Last Prisoner Project's done a lot of great things for Corvain and for the constituency of cannabis prisoners. And so this was our way of paying respect to them.
And there's a lot of other organizations who are doing great works as well.
Mission Green, Project Mission Green with Weldon Angelos. He's killing it. Marijuana Matters DC.
Khadijah, she is amazing.
Khadijah from Marijuana Matters. Yep, she's awesome. In fact,
and yes,
just recently, I'll let you tell it, hon.
Yes, I'm so excited. So Khadijah, CEO of Marijuana Matters DC, I met with her, and over the series of a few weeks, I was actually asked to be on the advisory board for Marijuana Matters. So
congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's another strong Black woman who is doing things and shaking up this industry that I respect and honor. And so I am just thrilled to be a part of their mission as well.
Yeah, they educate. Marijuana Matters educates cannabis stakeholders about the implications of the laws in their jurisdictions.
And they help the prisoners afterwards.
Which, that is so important. I can't tell you how many people will jump into or try to jump into the league or industry and field thereof with minimal resources and education. So that is a big tip, and I'm going to make sure we have a link for that in the show notes and in the bio so that people can get more information on that in our blog as well. So that is phenomenal. Absolutely.
Thank you, Nakia. Thank you.
Yeah. Life for Pot is another one. Can Do Clemency, Sherry Sicard. There's tons of them. The National Diversity and Inclusion Association. There's a ton of great organizations, and We'll list those out on our social media and on our website so that people can find those organizations. And that's what 40 Tons is about. We're not the policymakers. We're not the ones drafting legislation. We're not the ones that have all the answers. What we are is an amplifier. And we want to amplify the messages of all the people that are doing well and then provide opportunities to the prisoners when they come home. And so part of our initiatives is there's a bunch of certificate programs that are out there. For example, Oaksterdam. They offer a business of cannabis class. They offer a horticulture class. There's a ton of other courses that are just like that all across the country that provide certificate programs so that when you get these certificates, you could then now work in this industry. 40 Tons' mission and goal is to buy an X amount of those certificates. So let's say it cost $1,000 to go through this program. We're just going to go and buy 20 of them. And then we give 20 scholarships to the prisoners that come home. And now they have an educational tool that they can get. Once they get their certificate, now they can go actually work in the industry. Granted, based on laws, based on the laws of the state, based on what they can and can't do due to the terms of probation, but at least they'll get educated on whatever that particular topic is. And we did it this way because we didn't want to have to beg for money. When you're running a nonprofit, you have to ask for money, you have to get grants, you have to fundraise. We didn't want to do that. We just wanted to sell our products, take our money, and just do good with it. And really be a true social impact brand. Tom's. You know that when you buy Tom's shoes, you get a pair of shoes, but then someone else in a third world country who doesn't have shoes gets a pair. So you feel like you're doing good because you're buying those particular shoes. So that's what we wanted to do, if that makes sense.
I definitely love everything that you've just said, everything that you've outlined from start to finish. And when I think about buying into something or wanting to spend money on something, you get excited about a cause. And you definitely get excited when you talk about making change and making an impact and creating opportunities for people post incarceration. I think a lot of people don't realize we don't really have a system of reformation. People are not going in and then coming out with these massive amounts of opportunities or funding or resources. Some of them have been in there so long, who's left when they do come out? And it's a horrible reality many of these people are facing. And so just to know that you guys are working in this way blows my mind, humbles me, it inspires me. And I just really have to tip my hat to you. And I have to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. You know, really, guys, and just even divulging this information so that my listeners could be more educated, more informed, and know where they can also get engaged and provide assistance and gain more information. At the end of it all, what do you believe or hope your overall brand impact will be? And currently, what challenges are you facing as you prepare to launch?
We are bootstrapping this business and we're all in. And I think Anthony could probably tell you what we need most.
On a business, so that was a two-pronged question. So the first question was, what do we want? What's our macro vision? Our macro vision is to free the 40,000 prisoners locked up for cannabis. Nobody, period. Nobody should be serving time for marijuana, period. We made $10.4 billion in 2018, and that number's supposed to double this year. So while we're talking on this podcast and promoting cannabis brands, while there's brands out there making money, governments collecting tax dollars, our brothers and sisters are locked up over this plant. So what do we want to see? We want to see all 40,000 prisoners let free. Now, the challenges with starting a business are just like any other challenges starting a business. We're bootstrapping this. So literally this is from our own pockets. Like we don't have any major funding. We don't have
a millionaire uncle.
Right.
A small loan,
you know what I'm saying?
$1 million.
All we have is our heart, our passion, our love for this plant.
And our vulnerability. I wanted the brand to be very vulnerable and
that
know
is power. That is so much more powerful than I think anybody could ever give it credit for. The vulnerability, the transparency. It's just evident that the work you're doing is honest, and that is so important.
Right. And if you purchase from us, when you purchase from us, that the money is actually going to go to that mother who has to accept those collect calls.
And more importantly, even not more importantly, but in addition to that, you're supporting a company that is from this culture, right? It's very similar to FUBU, right? For us, by us. Well, we are real cannabis impacted people that are running a cannabis brand. So it doesn't feel like you're spending money with the ivory tower. You're spending money with people that are really boots on the ground, people that really were affected by it, and people that were really a part of this culture. So there's that component of it. There's the component that, of us giving back. And because we're in such the beginning stages, we are testing the different ways that we can do this. We have macro goals, macro dreams. If we could give $100,000 to every organization, to every mother out there, obviously we could, but what's really sustainable? So what we feel is, as long as we're just pushing in the right direction, we're going to evolve as we go. And so whether that is actually helping subsidize attorney fees for cannabis prisoners, whether that's helping put money on these cannabis prisoners' books, helping a mother that needs to pay for her collect calls, and or providing scholarships to the prisoners when they come home, and or getting direct funding to the organizations that are actually fighting for these prisoners. We're going to figure all that as we go, and as we scale, and as we make more money, we could do more things. But our goal and our intention is to actually do all of those things. And so we'll start small and we'll work our way up. And Corvain Cooper is the soul of 40 tons, and we won't stop until he comes home. Right. And so that's my homeboy. We started in this game together. We're going to end it in this game together. What's always funny is I talk to him all the time on the phone. He calls me every day, every day that he's not on lockdown. And he's really into stocks. So he calls me every day to talk about stock market stuff. And I need to buy this, and this is going to go up, and get a put on this, and get a call option on that. And it's so funny because it's like all he does all day is study CNBC and read the Wall Street Journal while he's locked up. So he's in good spirits. He's in good spirits.
That's beautiful to hear. I love any time that you can hear that somebody is really on the up and up despite being in that situation. Just usually that external communication is huge. So you just being able to take his calls every day, have that engagement and fighting like this for him. It's sensational.
Yes, exactly. He has hope, and he knows that we are the right people to bring him that hope.
And we're not the only ones. Like we have to pay homage where homage is due. His mother, his sons, his daughter's mothers, his nephew, his sister's husband. There's a lot of people out there fighting for him. All of his friends, all of his advocacy people. We are just one of two of many people that are fighting for him to get out. And so we always want to pay homage to those that came before us and to those that are also doing the work. We are a supporting role in the mission to get Corvain out of prison.
I love that you mentioned that point in being a supporting role. Before we go too far, and I hate this. I really want to stay on call with you guys forever, but at best I've got 15 minutes. Right. But I really maybe want to do a part 2 once the brand is up and going. I want to get some more initiatives, some more directives going with you guys. You have such an amazing foundation, and I say foundation, not just the brand, but the foundation of who you are as people. The foundation of your relationship seems sensational, and really it's just evident that there is nothing but love and good intention in the work that you're doing. Talk to me a little bit about, before we close, Corvain's current status. I know that there was some work done by criminal defense lawyer and appeals attorney Patrick Michael Magaro. I don't want to say that wrong. Magaro. Okay, so we know that he's appealed his conviction and sentence. However, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit upheld his current sentence, unfortunately, and the Supreme Court declined to hear his case. We know that under the Obama administration, no work was done for him. And it doesn't appear that under the Trump administration anything was done for him either. So where are we headed currently?
So right now, the only way that we can get Corvain Cooper out of prison is through a clemency or commutation or pardon.
With the Trump administration. Right?
With any of the administrations, but currently it's the Trump administration. So we have 4 days until Trump is out of office. We have our fingers crossed. We have a lot of people like Weldon Angelos, Alice Johnson, Sarah Gersten, and a bunch of others that are right now making phone calls, writing letters, talking to the legislature, talking to the White House, trying to get Corvain out of jail. So we're not going to count it out. We still got 3-4 days until Trump is out of office. Yeah. There's a lot of talk right now about it. Usually the presidents do their clemencies and their pardons in the last week of their term. And so we really hope and pray that the next time we talk on this podcast, Corvain could join us.
That would be the follow-up to end all follow-ups. I might not even need to do
right. So I had chills when you just said that.
I don't want to count it out. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can only go on what's happened in the past, right? And the past is a pretty determining factor for the future. But it ain't over. What's the thing that it ain't over till the fat lady sings, right? That's the saying that they say. So, well, she ain't sung yet. And so January 20th, when Biden takes office, is when she will have sung, at least for this administration. We believe that if he doesn't get it on this administration, that the next administration is going to hopefully do it. So
not only do I believe it's going to happen by power and affirmation, there's just so much work that you guys are putting into it. Not only you, but the team, the people that are working around him. And to anyone listening, if you know how you can get involved, if you have questions, here at the end of this engagement, we're going to give them an opportunity to link their handles, link their website, figure out where you can get plugged in. Again, our blog is eventually going to be up, which you guys know how I am about blog posts, but we are going to get that done. You're also going to find information there on our website and on our Instagram and Facebook pages. So we're going to work to get the word out about this also, but I would definitely love for the next episode for him to be here also. That would just be sensational.
Yes.
That would be awesome. Yeah. At the end of the day, we want the listeners to know the main thing, and that is we are not saying that we're innocent. Corvain will never tell you that he was innocent, that he didn't sell weed. We sold weed. What we want people to know is that the punishment doesn't fit the crime. You do the crime, you serve your time, you rehabilitate, and it's time to move on. Corvain's done almost 8 years now over this. It's time for him to get out. He learned his lesson. We've learned our lesson, and it's time for us to just start our lives over and do good in the community. And nobody should be serving long periods of time over cannabis. The punishments just don't fit the crimes, and that's what we want to let everybody know. And so the fact that we take ownership, the fact that we acknowledge, and the fact that we are making a conscious effort to change is where I think the value comes in us. And Corvain will tell you that to the day he dies, that he's a man of integrity, he's a man of honor, he's a man of respect. And and my wife and I are his voice, one of his voices, until he can speak for himself.
Man, the punishment not fitting the crime. I think about the many times I've argued the factors of rehabilitation and really putting in factors of rehabilitation. Like, mind fucking blown that prison doesn't actually rehabilitate many people versus the system working to actively keep people down. And then when they are released, they're expected to go back into these working forms of reciprocity like nothing ever happened. And they don't even often have the tools or equipment or resources to really get back on that saddle and that system of reciprocity. So thank you guys so much again. The work you're doing is essential. It is going to inspire people who want to do similar work, be it in the same for nonviolent offenses, drug-related offenses, whatever the case may be. I promise your words are secreting with someone, not only to get involved and to make an impact, but somebody's going to really work to make a difference. So thank you guys so much again for sharing a bit of your time with me today, for spending this last 40 minutes with me. And just, I'm so excited for everyone to hear this actually airing on Inauguration Day. I'm going to take some focus off of all of that. And we're just going to take a minute to really talk about causes. And I hope that the update I can provide is that we've heard that there is a shift in these last few days. And then if not, we know we're trucking right along. I'm going to continue to provide resources, support, whatever I can do for you guys. I'm happy to. And I look forward to our next engagement. Real quick, just let the people know how they can find you, where they can visit, where they can get involved with the 40 Tons brand.
Okay, thank you so much, Nakia. We are honored and humbled that you would have us on your platform and giving us a voice. And so I do appreciate this from the bottom of my heart.
First time actually being on a podcast too. So
yeah,
we did great. I try to keep
our
it
first
simple
one.
and conversational, especially for
Anthony.
episodes like this with no flow. I just really wanted to get you guys on here and tell this story. And honestly, I'm humbled that I've had the opportunity. So really, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. You should see Anthony. He has a microphone like in his nostril. It's so close. I'm like, I'm pulling him back, girl. And he just keeps going. So I just let
Come
you know
on,
that.
man.
I just have to let you know that we are real people. Okay. Because when you're married 20 years like we are, like it's just certain things.
20 years. That's an episode in itself. What the fuck? I'm sorry.
We young though, but we young, man. We young.
Yeah,
No, y'all are doing it though, because I only made it a year and we were done. Do you hear me?
Put a fork in them, yes. So, yeah, maybe that's going to go off on another tangent with married couples and how you survive that. So I'm open to that too. But anyways,
yes.
How you can find us and I'll let Anthony say.
Is that Instagram, 40 Tons Brand. That's 40 Tons Brand on Instagram. You can email us at info@40tons.co. And then our website is launching soon, which is 40tons.co, 40tons.co. We're really excited.
Yeah.
We have a really wonderful developer behind that who's donating a large portion of his time and efforts to help put that up.
Because they believe in that.
Jared Lutz of Hyperlocal. He's an amazing human being. And so, yeah, the website will be launched very soon. If you want to support us, there's two ways you can do that. Right now, you can go to our Instagram account, click the link in the bio, and go and sign the petition for Corvain Cooper's clemency. Hopefully, we won't even need that in the next 3 days, but knock on wood.
That's the energy I want.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I accidentally put myself on mute. I do that so often. Oh, my goodness. Anyway.
No worries.
That
but
is
we
the
have
energy I like to go in with, though, most definitely.
We have 151,000 signatures right now, so we're trying to continue to push that. That's the first way you can support. And then the second way you can support is buying our products. We have merchandise coming out really soon, some really good clothing, apparel, and some accessories, non-cannabis related. And then so that'll be able to be purchased directly from our website. And then our products, our cannabis products, will be in stores by mid-February. And so those will be wherever the Evidence and Ocean Grown Extracts brands are at in California. So we are in California right now at the moment. But if you are nationwide or worldwide, purchase one of our T-shirts, one of our hats, hoodies, and that will really help us out.
Man, I want to thank you guys so much again for coming on. And real quick, do you mind just repeating, because I think it may have cut out for listeners, the amount of signatures that you have at this time?
We have 151,000 signatures right now, which is incredible.
But not enough. So you guys get your asses. I know you ain't doing nothing. I'm going to need you to go.
And it's easy. It's easy to do.
It really is. I was actually floored, probably like the first online petition I signed, how easy the process was. So guys, get involved however you can. You've heard how you can get plugged in. Thank you guys again so much for coming on this show. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where the brand goes, how it develops, and what all you're going to do for these prisoners and what you're going to be able to do for their families and their loved ones. So thank you so much, guys. This has been another week of expecting better, doing better, and believing better. I'm your host, It's Just Nakia. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nakia. Most importantly, however, I am not the show. So be sure to follow the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. That website's really the place to be. That's the expecteffectpod.com. You'll be able to view our podcast like a pro services, the Expectancy Factor tab where you can view our blog pages that I am getting together, as well as our life coaching services and differences between life coaching and therapy. And of course, if you'd like to be a guest on the show or know someone who wants to be a guest, there's a form for that. So there's the expecteffectpod.com. We will see you next week. This has been just a really wonderful time. Thank you guys so much. Life is hard, but self-care doesn't have to be. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.